Alright, we're just going to tie the basic pheasant tail. We've got a size 14 hook with, I believe, a 3.2mm bead on it. I always like to start with a little bit of lead wrap to seat the bead. So just 5 or 6 wraps of lead so I can shove it up by the bead. Alright, just dress the hook starting right behind the lead. You let your thread hang right where basically the barb of the hook comes off. Alright, for a size 14 I usually like to take 5 or 6 strands of pheasant tail. So I'm just going to pull those off of the stem. And I want the tail to be just slightly shorter than the shank of the hook. So I'm going to tie those in with only 2 wraps. And it's going to hold that in place because I'm going to use the rest of that pheasant tail to tie the body with. At this point I'm going to take some, it's okay if I use these for wire or not?
Yeah? Oh yeah.
Okay.
I've got a billion blades left over. Okay. So.
At this point I'm gonna tie in some wire. I've got some copper brown UTC wire in the small size. I'm going to take my thread and come underneath this pheasant tail and just tie it in right behind where that lead starts. I'm going to wrap this back to my tie-in point until I get to the tie-in point and snug it down real nice and then go back toward the front. Now I'm going to wrap the body next, but before I do that I want to make a nice taper up to this lead. As you've seen, the nice pheasant tails you buy in the store have a nice taper to them. Alright, so I've created a taper, and so I'm going to wrap the body, and as you can see the wing case on this fly is going to start not all the way up here. It's going to start about back here. But as you see, I'm going to wrap it forward a little bit further so that when I start tying in my wing case materials that it keeps that nice tapered body. You'll see as we get closer to the end of the fly. So I'm just going to take these fibers and wrap forward. Trim those off. And then I'm going to take the wire and I'm going to counter wrap the pheasant tails. And what that will do is it'll lock in all the pheasant tails in case a fish tooth gets in there and cuts one of them. At this point, if you were going to tie just a normal pheasant tail, you would just tie in the pheasant tail clump, but I'm going to do a flashback, so I'm going to tie in a little bit of flash. I've got some UTC holographic tinsel, medium size in the copper color, and you can see I'm wrapping back over the body a little bit. That's perfectly acceptable in my book. Then I'm going to take another 5 or so pieces. I could have used the fibers that I wrapped for the body, but they were getting a little bit short, so I'm just going to take 5 or 6 more pieces of pheasant tail, and I'm going to cut the tips off of them. And some people leave the tips on so they can make little legs, but we're not going to do that on this one. We're going to just tie them in. And now we're ready for some peacock. When I first started tying pheasant tails, I would just tie in one piece of peacock, and it's a lot easier if you tie in more than one. I only have 2 pieces right now, so 2 little pieces of peacock herl. I'm going to tie those in right here in the thorax. Wrap those around. And cut those off. Now all I have to do is pull my pheasant tail over, and on a bead-head fly you can kind of pull it over and move it back and forth on the bead. As you can see here, it's not very wide, but when I do this it widens out that wing case a little bit. And then I'm going to take the flash and tie the flash over the top. Pull the flash back and make a wrap or two and trim that off. And then I'm going to take 2 fibers per side and I'm going to kind of wrap those back. I'm going to trim off the top fibers. Trim the leg fibers just a little bit longer than the wing case. Then I'm going to whip finish. And that's it.